morning. It is morning huddle time.
A sense of belonging in a company actually increases job performance by 56%.
It's like a lot of times all of that 3D data is there. They've done the work. They've done the engineering. They've done the slopes. They've done all the 3D polylines are already in their file. There's just a huge disconnect between what they do and the builders right now.
113,000 available unfilled construction jobs in this country, 11 million available unfilled jobs overall in this country.
One of the great culture things I see in construction is people just get it done. At the end of the day, we've built 100% of the building. There's no 80-20 rule.
Think of the technology that has been brought into existence in the last 60 years, and you think of the productivity gains that have, say, occurred in agriculture, which is up 1,750%, or manufacturing, which is up 400%, and construction is flat to negative.
This was always supposed to just be a 6-episode mini-series, Stacy. I want to remind you of that.
Good morning. It is morning huddle time. Chad Prinky here with Stacy Holzinger. Stacy, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I just came back from a great weekend. I had posted yesterday with MCCEI, and it was kind of a pilot program. 500 students showed up for Careers in Construction Day. We did 20-minute, like not round table, but to each section, and learned about apprenticeships and met with the electricians and mechanical contractors, and they all had really cool interactive activities planned, and the students were really engaged. It was awesome.
It sounds great. It sounds very much right up your alley, and a charitable way to spend the weekend, Stacy. Good for you. Yeah. You earned 3 points.
Well, it was a Friday, so it was like still work day.
Okay, got it. Now I see what we're really saying here is Fridays we usually don't work, so it was a fun Friday.
It was fun. What have you been up to, or what you're up to? Something.
So I have, I've been having a lot of fun with. It is heavy retreat season. Yeah. Lots and lots of 2 days and day and a halves and things like that to get away and do strategic planning. And one of the retreats that we actually have coming up this week, I'm excited about because it's actually an opportunity for me to facilitate a retreat for an association that I actually belong to and that I have been involved with for over a decade. And that's ABC of Metro Washington. So running that retreat. Yeah. This coming week, which, it's one of the only retreats that it makes me feel like I really also want to be a participant because I have so many opinions about.
Yeah, I know that must be tough sometimes.
It is, yeah. It's all your guys' ideas are wrong. These are the things we should be doing. Trust me, I'm a member, and, but it's a lot of. It is a lot of fun, and hanging out with those folks for a few days is also great networking. So
yeah, and that's how I met you, by the way.
I know it was ABC, but was it at a retreat?
No, I think it was I remember sitting next to you at some it was some morning breakfast thing, and we got to chatting. But that was, I don't even know how long ago.
Networking pays off. Let's pretend it was a year. We'll just pretend like it was last year. But no, it's networking pays off, right? I mean, you have to put yourself out there. If you put yourself out there and meet new people, you will find yourself in all kinds of fun and exciting situations that you could have never planned for. So that is, I'll never forget when I was told I was joining ABC by a member who was like, "Trust me, you're joining," and I was like, "Okay," and. It ended up being one of the best business decisions I made. So that was
same for me.
Thing. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Today we have an awesome guest that we've actually had a chance to speak with once on a special edition huddle, I believe, back in May or something like that. We got a chance to hear a little bit of the story. We looked from that conversation. We really wanted to pick up and expand on the conversation. We have with us this morning, Catherine Schoenenberger. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Stacy, this is one of your kind of favorite discussion points, and I think it would be awesome if you'd take a moment and kind of describe why you were excited to have Catherine join us and have this discussion today.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, I'm on a cohort, and one of the biggest issues, and we talk about it a lot on LinkedIn or where have you, about recruiting people into the trades. And there's so many contractors that want, qualified workforce into the trades right now because we can't find enough people. And especially, CDL drivers, sorry, CDL drivers, HVAC technicians, electrical, pretty much all over. We're looking for estimators, project managers, but the school systems will not push a certain career. And when I talk to teachers, they say that's not their job. Their job is to give an education, which I completely understand. They're already overwhelmed with, a ton of other things. So it's really important for businesses to find a way that we can connect the students to the trades. It's the only way. So I met Catherine and Jennifer Duez from MCCEI, and Jennifer wanted to model off of Catherine's really successful program. So I was just hoping, and that's what we did this past weekend with 500 students. But I know there must be some differences. So if you could just share how long you've been doing it and how successful it's been and all the good details.
Awesome. So, and I should also say, just for context, that in addition to being, deeply involved in New Hampshire construction career days, having been the president and chairperson for almost 15 years, Catherine is also past national president of NAWIC. Heavily involved in NAWIC today, which is how we got a chance to meet in May, as well as her day job, which is as the president of Stay Safe Traffic Products, which is a safety product company in Massachusetts. So that being the whole picture, Catherine, why don't you expand on that story a little bit?
Yeah, New Hampshire Construction Career Days really began out of a conversation that actually happened in 1997. And at that time, there was an actual national program that was being played with, but not necessarily expanded. So from that national program, which was Construction Career Days, that's basically what it was called. There were two gentlemen that were in charge of it. One on this side of the Mississippi and the other one on the other side of Mississippi. And they ran the whole national side of things, but they developed a template. And when I was introduced to it finally, through NAWIC, actually, Humberto Martinez, who was from Texas, he was at a national conference with us, and we were toying with that idea. And like I said, 1997, I didn't get introduced to NAWIC until 2008. So during that time, we're trying to find ways in order to find that next generation of workforce, as Stacy had mentioned. We don't have it. We never did, blah, blah, blah. And I was on more the public works side of things. That's where my customer base is for Stay Safe Traffic. And our DPW workers, they're retiring. I mean, hordes of them now. We knew that in 97, bounced forward 20, 25 years, and they don't have to work anymore to get their 80% and work from that. So that was where the impetus came for me to keep looking. And I had the energy and certainly the youth at the time to keep on moving. And so we did. We found the program nationally, and then we brought it to New Hampshire. In 2009, we adopted it for New Hampshire. And I say adopted it because then once you take it, just like Baltimore, once you take it, you make it your own personality. So Massachusetts was the closest to me, obviously. So I went down and took a look at what they were doing. And it was quite impressive. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I knew we had the same stuff for New Hampshire. And that's what we did. We brought it up to New Hampshire. And basically in the simplest formats of things, because now Maine has taken it from New Hampshire, and they've had their second event with it. You steal with pride. You take what works and you ditch what doesn't, and you bring those kids in. And that's what we've done since, like I said, 2009. We had our inaugural with 345 students and a half-day program. We just completed our 13th event We had 2 years off because of COVID. We just completed our 13th event on September 28th and 29th. And we have well over 14,000 students that have gone through. So it was pretty exciting. And, the success part of it really has been the snowball effect, because 10 years ago, and we were still doing it 10 years ago, the enthusiasm wasn't quite there. And I think that our industry has taken that corner, ABC being a part of it, AGC being a part of it. Things like what Jen runs in Baltimore, those educational facilitations, and the fact that, college may not be for everybody, and it's certainly expensive, et cetera, et cetera. But, I see more of an uptick in the involvement with the construction companies, the big construction companies too, that really need to be part of this, and this being Construction Career Days, and on any level and in any state.
Yeah. Can you walk us through what's involved with the planning of this event?
Yeah, there's a lot, but like I said, I didn't have to start from scratch. I had a national program that I looked at, and one of the biggest pieces of advice was get a steering committee together. And the steering committee is just basically your handful, as always, 20% of us or 10% of us do 90% of the work, right? So that's more the percentage. But you get your steering committee together, and you get people that complement your talents or your strengths. And I have that. We have a three-legged stool, as I call it. Myself, Megan Terrio, who is currently the director of public works up in Guilford, New Hampshire. And then Eric Gustafson, who is if he's not already, he's nearly the town engineer for Goffstown, New Hampshire. And those two are definitely engineers. They're all day about spreadsheets and making sure the details are right there, which is beautiful, because I'm more the big picture. I take care of the finances and all that other good stuff. But the three of us now have developed into this well-groomed machine. And we've had others. Sarah is in charge of our volunteers this year. She did an absolutely excellent job. She too is an engineer in Belmont, New Hampshire. And that's how it works. That's how it works. You start with your steering committee, and you want to find people that are going to make understand your passion. And don't forget, this is all volunteer. So we need the buy-in from their employers, from anybody's employers, actually, to be part of this. And then we have schools like Manchester Community College, for instance. They've supported us right through every single event, and they've taken on like our backpacks. They've taken that expense away from us, an in-kind donation. And we thank you very much for that too. So the steering committee really is the beginning of the planning. And then from there you grow. And like when I first started this, like I said, I had the public works. I had the road agents of New Hampshire. I had the Public Works Association of New Hampshire. I even had Massachusetts behind me. I had a lot of public works entities in every department within they definitely saw the value in it. But with public works, you don't have money. They can't give you a check. And so every year we start from scratch. So joining NAWIC, and I will tell you, as I've said many a time, it's the National Association of Women in Construction, and women, no matter what field they're in, get stuff done. So that's where my introduction was in 2008. And literally that first year, I ran the Construction Career Days through the NAWIC checkbook in Granite State, New Hampshire. And these women came to the table, not only with enthusiasm and passion, but with a check. And, you have to buy your PPE. You have to rent that, facility. You have to know your venues. You have to make sure there's a porta potty on site. All of those fun little details cost money. So that's
have you been doing it at the same place year after year, or have you switched it up?
The first 5 years we were in fairgrounds in Hopkinton, New Hampshire. And then in 2013, I believe our first one was in New Boston, New Hampshire, which is also a fairgrounds. And that is a blessing and a half, because we have a working pit that is actually separated a little bit just by a walkway up to the working pit. And that pit is leased by another gentleman who it literally is. He shuts down for 3 days for us to have these kids experience construction, all the heavy working, heavy equipment that's working up there, digging in the dirt. And it's a blessing, unbelievable, because we don't have to worry about hitting something. We don't have to worry about grooming it back. It's a working pit, and they have an absolute blast up there. And then we have the rest of the grounds. There's a couple of big, huge barns that are filled to capacity. We have an inner circle of like the infield, if you will, that is full with, like Milton Cat took over. I think they had a 40 by 40 tent this year, along with a few of their subcontractors. And it's just, the kids, they cannot not do all day long. So we've been in New Boston. We're hopeful that we can stay there just because it's so conducive to what we have, and keeping it's a 60, I think it's a 60-acre square facility. I have square feet somewhere. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I remember that was one of Jen's questions to me. How big is the facility? And when I asked, I'm like, holy mother, because you see the drone pictures of this place. Yeah. It's quite impressive, and we're very fortunate that we've had good people at the fairgrounds level, and certainly the gentleman in the pit. He's just been aces.
Yeah. How do you select the contractors that are willing to participate? And what about the schools? Is it only schools that have career technical education programs, or do the students get to select that they want to come to this event? Like, can you walk us through both of that?
Yep. Like I said, in the last 10 years ago, we probably did have to do a lot more solicitation for the exhibitors. Make sure that they understood the value of who it was that we're talking to, and so on and so forth. It's not so much anymore. They're knocking on our door. We had over 100 exhibitors, including the heavy equipment.
That's big.
That's how you know you're doing it right.
Yeah. So, and we had, I have the stats. We had 32 pieces of live equipment, 14 pieces of static equipment, just equipment. Never mind everything else that's going on. And technically, there were 95 hands-on exhibitors and 60 different high schools represented. And as far as the schools are concerned, I want everyone on that bus. We try to give incentives. A few times we've been able to offer the incentive to get your female students on the bus by paying for their transportation. Not one school took me up on that, although they did show up. We've had double digits for female students most years. I would say that probably maybe 2 out of the 13.
When you say double digits, what's that mean? Percentage?
Like percentage points. Yeah. Percentage, yeah. Like this year we had, I think it was 15% were female out of the 1,442 that we had through those 2 days. We had, for the schools, they sign up immediately. We open up our registrations in early May, after they get back from their April break. And boom, we're at capacity, 2,000 students right off the bat. Wow. But what we find is, and this is where, experience helps in planning. I always plan for 2,000 students, no matter what, for PPE purposes, food purposes, the whole thing, volunteers, more eyes on everybody is better. And then it falls off between 23 and 25%. We just know it's going to happen that way. Last year in 2022, our Thursday got rained out. So it was unfortunate in the timing. It wasn't that, we had rain this year as well, but the timing of it was different, and the severeness of it was different. So last year on Thursday morning at 7:45, when buses are just about to pull out of their schoolyards, it was a thunder and lightning storm, torrential downpours, and I had 2 of my largest schools pull out. So we went down by about 400 students that day, 2 or 3. And then you had the 25% fall off anyway, right? So it ended up being perfect, no matter what, right? We had still over 400 and something kids on that day. But this year, it was Friday that was our rainy day. We couldn't have asked for better weather. And Wednesday sitting up, and Thursday was gorgeous. And then Friday, comes in the rain. But the rain was different. Rain came in a little bit later. The kids were sopping, but they were smiling, and they had their projects, and they were good. And yeah, it's called construction for a reason. We don't shut down just because it starts raining. So
speaking of that, so can you walk us through when the student gets off the bus, what's their experience?
Okay, so in New Hampshire, this is how we do it. The first person they get to meet is me, usually, and Megan has been backing me up because sometimes we have 5 or 6 buses coming in at once, so we don't want to hold up the kids on the bus. But they come in, I give them a 5-minute, you're at the fairgrounds, but you're not at the fair. You're at a construction site. That's how it's going to be. Get rid of your earbuds. I give them a little bit, that lecture. Any bad behavior is not tolerated. You're right back on the bus. I have no medium in between there. It's 0. And I never have had a problem with a student. I can't say the same for the adults most of the time. But the students have been very respectful. They know that they represent their schools. And back to your question about whether or not they're from CTE, most of them are coming from CTE, career technical education, or they're, in that industrial arts kind of programming. But then you have a lot that aren't, and or the freshmen that haven't made their decision yet. And those are the best ones to get because they're so wide open to everything. But when they get off the bus, they go through our registration area. And at the beginning of registration, I have a volunteer standing there taking all their stats. How many students do you have with you? How many are female? How many are minorities? Et cetera, et cetera. How many chaperones you have? So we have a good head count. Then they go through, they get their PPE, which is hard hats, backpacks, and safety glasses from us. That's what we provide. And inside the backpacks, we have a couple of snacks. We have our student booklet, which I'm very proud of. That's a huge undertaking, which we stole with pride from ABC once upon a time, and has been just it's just rolling ever since. And they go off. We figure out, all right, you talk to your students, tell them when to rally. Down below, everybody stays down below. We have our buses up top and our students down below. One of the things that we've improved upon, and this year was a big one, is keeping the students down before their buses pull up so they can get back on. And when you're talking a mass exodus, it can be quite confusing. But fortunately, again, somebody smarter than me just said, let's make signs. I'm like, in the sign business, what a great idea, So that's what we did. And we made little picket signs so that everybody knew what school was gathering where, and they all look alike. And that's what I tell the students. I said, you all look like to me, so you're not going to offend me, and I'm not going to protect you. I have no idea where you're coming from, but that kind of thing. And the other part of it, and I think maybe this being more so, is that we have wristbands that we issue. And because we're in a very public spot, even though we try to close down the fairgrounds, I tell them, if you see an adult or anyone without a wristband on, you talk to an adult. We don't want any unwelcomed visitors. And you see something, you say something. And to my adults on the grounds, I said, you see something, you do something. I don't want to hear about it. Take care of it right now. Don't wait. Don't try to find me. Not in that seat. No. Even though, our key people have walkies on and that kind of thing. But it's safety first, as in every construction site, right? Isn't that first?
Absolutely.
So that's what we do. That's one of my biggest questions, I guess, I'm asked from exhibitors is, what's the insurance deal? How do you cover yourself? Blah, blah, blah. Well, OSHA says that if you can reach the pedals, you're good to drive without a license, like operate the equipment. Now, none of this equipment's moving, by the way. I mean, they're moving the shovels and things like that, and they may be going back and forth with the skid steer, but they're certainly not driving. And so long as they're with a licensed operator, which they all are, they're good to go. So on that side of things, I mean, there's just no margin for error.
Yep.
I have to plug the women, though, the female students, because my operators always brag about how much they would prefer a female student over a male student. And the primary reason is because the girls listen first.
I was just gonna say, they're just better listeners.
They're good listeners, and so they take that 30 seconds of instruction to heart, and they don't want to screw up because we're perfectionists too. Oh, I'm not skilled to do this, so I can't apply for that job, right? No. They get rid of that fear right off the bat.
That's great.
So we have a lot of fun with it.
That's huge. So I think a lot of our audience is potentially in this category of folks who could get involved, like Stacy clearly does. Folks who could get involved in helping with this type of program in whatever part of the country they're in, and targeting the same school age kids for impact. If you're talking to that audience who's maybe brainstorming right now, you've sparked something in them and they're saying, man, I got to get involved, or I'm already involved and I want to pursue something like this. This is something that we'd really like to put together. If there were one or two or three, whatever, a handful of pieces of advice that you would have for, like, you've given us a lot of things that'll make it work, but what are some of the don'ts? Like, hey, we know this doesn't work. Don't do this. Do you have any of that kind of advice?
My biggest hurdle, if you will, has been food. It sounds like I tried to say the first year, everybody bring a lunch. You're at a construction site, you go into a job site, bring
Feed
your
yourself.
own lunch.
Right.
And that sounds great. It's a good piece of advice, only it doesn't work at all. And then I got huge pushback from the other adults in my circle, my steering committee, saying, Kath, they're on the bus for 2 hours or 3 hours. They're eating their lunch before they even get off. And then what do they do? So that's why we provide a couple of snacks in their backpack, for instance.
Yeah.
But one of the don'ts, which we got rid of this year, was pizza. Okay. Pizza became my hell. I have to tell you.
How can you go wrong with pizza?
I know.
Yeah. So as it was, we had a gentleman that, he provided the pizzas, and we had a couple of outfits, but we brought back this one guy, and he tried to handle it, and we tried to handle it, but it ended up being that there were pizza boxes to the point of nausea. And I mean, we had to bring in a huge can of, a dumpster in order to accommodate all that extra cardboard. The kids were waiting in lines. Then it ended up being costly for us, simply because we had to make a commitment. And then something like rain happened on Thursday, and we ended up with, I can't tell you how many extra pizzas we had. So you learn things like that as you go. And one of the things that I learned was, I'm not going to focus on that. We had one gentleman that had been with us for a couple of years, and he had a barbecue pulled pork truck type of thing, all self-contained, whatever else. So I got in a second food truck this year, and it seemed to work famously. And the only folks that we picked up lunch for was my public works operators that were on site voluntarily. And it's not only did it save us a lot of money, but it saved us a lot a trash.
Yeah.
And that's a huge logistic. You just don't think about,
A lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. So that was a definite learning curve. The other one was probably directions to the place, because in New Hampshire, you can't get there from here. And this is definitely one of those places. New Boston, if you look at the map, it's not close to anything. Our biggest city is Manchester, and that's still 25 minutes away on a good day. And it's all like routes. It's not direct routes. So our buses are coming from the seashore and from up north and out west. And so they all have to find it. And I think that has been one of the things.
And you said one school came 3 hours away just to come to your program, which is awesome.
Yeah. They did. And they were wonderful. And I have to say too, the other big challenge that I think the schools have, and especially right now, you talk about workforce, not having enough people, are our bus drivers.
Oh, no kidding. I see that everywhere.
Yeah,
it's like everywhere I go, I see these signs like, hey, come be a bus driver. I'm thinking, I don't really have time, but I feel like I should help. A
lot of parents are stepping up just to get it done.
Yeah. And that's been our thing too. I can't, it's stressed to because some of these CTE programs obviously are regional. So the student might be closer to the fairgrounds where we're having the event than going to their actual school and getting on the bus. Oh, I'll just meet you there. Oh, no. I can't have that. No.
Disaster that would be.
You have to come and go with your bus. And so that to me is like not cool. So we've had a couple last year. This past event, we had one car full show up, and they knew they were I thought we already missed the bus, but they were close enough where they went back to the school, got on the bus, and then came. So they were decent kids. They really were. And I was happy to know that they figured out their own solution. I was going to accommodate them, of course, but that was the exception, not the rule. And then the buses, though, the bus drivers, I have to go back to them for a minute because they're adults on the ground. So they get their wrist banned because I tell them, get off the bus, have a walk around, you'll see. And they come back flabbergasted. And I love it hearing their stories because they come from every walk of life too. And that's really interesting. So they engage with the kids. Like that bus driver that came down from Berlin, New Hampshire, 3 hours, he was engaging with those kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the bus driver.
One final question for you. So I know our audience, our contractors, they want to get more involved in things like this, but they don't know where to start with activities. And you've probably seen so many contractors do really cool things. I got to see a little bit this weekend with the Calvert Mechanical. They did such a good job in getting the kids interacted with certain activities, and the electrical contractors did really cool things like an operation type of game where you go over and you try not to buzz the wires, and they did big pole line demonstrations. Can you give us some of your favorite demonstrations that the kids, or maybe that the kids enjoy the most?
Yes. Well, we did have in these last couple events, we've had Green Mountain Communications show up, and they had a 40-foot tower that the kids actually get to climb as a lineman. And, rain or no rain, they're climbing it. And it's really cool. We have arborists that have the kids up in trees, because people say, arborists, why are they at construction career days? Well, think about it, people. What's in your way? So, and these people are professionals, and the kids don't even they don't relate that. So that's the relation part of it. We have another engineering group that puts together a slurry to demonstrate like how pavement's made and the composites materials of that, but only they make it with chocolate and oatmeal and something else. So it's actually edible.
Nice.
So, but it's the consistency that's the point. And then one of my favorites has always been just marshmallows and raw spaghetti, and how they build the bridges and whatever else. And that's usually sponsored by our New Hampshire DOT group. And that's an engineering challenge. So we have those challenges around all the time, and the kids get to appreciate it, whether they're standing behind a laser to mark out a site, or they're climbing onto that excavator. One of the feedback, and in full disclosure, was from my brother-in-law's group out of Timberlane, Plastown, New Hampshire. He's their teacher up there, his chaperone, of course, and we do share last name, so it's fun. But he had one of his parents, and it was one of his freshman students. One of the parents wrote an email to him saying, I don't know what you did to this kid, but he is turned on like nobody's business. And basically, the day after our event was a big fair, Deerfield Fair. And this kid was telling his mother, I can run that excavator. He was all about it. And if you need a wall taken down, Mom, I know I can do it. And her email was funny. She's like, not that I need a wall taken down necessarily, but it's nice to know that he's willing to do it. So he was all turned on. And it was just like, seriously, probably 5 lines of an email.
Yeah.
But for me, that's our why. That's why we're doing this. We made one kid like totally appreciate what he's looking at every day. So,
do you have any stats on who eventually joined the trades?
I think Elon Musk is working on that in the way of a chip, but right now I don't have a chip. But I will tell you that our teachers that have been with us for many, many events, a decade and a half now, basically, they've come back with who has come back to them as ways students. My brother-in-law, for instance, he's got a great rapport with many of his kids after school, and where they end up going. But just to ignite that possibility with them. And unfortunately, there's no way to measure that, I don't think. But you get those little nuances, you get those little anecdotes every now and again. And it's just, somewhere along the line, you're laying that groundwork. It's just like what we talked about earlier too, the networking aspects of anything that we do in life. It's never a straight line. It's always a jungle gym, and we should appreciate all of those little experiences as we go. And these kids, I think the adults say it more often, but I wish I had this when I was a kid.
Yeah,
kind of thing. I wish I was exposed to this when I was a kid. because it would have could have changed the trajectory, or at least shortened up some time frames.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a whole slew of ideas for anyone that wants to have hands-on activities and get creative with it. I know our EverSource, which is our utility company up here, they have something huge planned for next year already. You know, they couldn't pull it off for this year, but next year they're already planning. So that's the other stuff. That's when you know you're doing something right too. When you're getting the feedback and the thank yous, but they're already planning for next year.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
So if people had wanted to get in touch with you or your program to figure out how to either participate or take this to their own state and figure out ideas, or help other contractors figure out different interactive ideas with the students, how would they get in touch with you, or how could they learn more about your program?
I'm wide open. My contact information, however you guys need to get it out there, I am wide open. Stay safe traffic at AOL.com or Gmail, because that's the way I am. But stay safe. And I have to slow it down, Stacy, because a lot of times people hear my company name is Stacy, and it's Stay Safe Traffic.
I gotcha.
All right.
That's funny.
And it's at any one of the URLs. I have it all covered. But that New Hampshire Construction Career Days, we are on Facebook, as well as we have a website, which is nhccd.weebly.com. Right now, we're upgrading that this year. We have somebody in the works for that. And there's a ton of photos, and there's a video coming out, and we'll share it on all platforms.
Awesome.
So that's all day that. But excuse me, because we don't have a national go-to anymore, I am so more than happy to share with like I did with Jen, like I did with Maine. And it's not me. It's like, I here, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then you have everybody nodding their heads and saying, yep, this is what we need. And then you have the AGCs and the ABCs of the world. There's a lot of good stuff right there. So
yeah.
And you fundamentally figure out the finances. And I'm going to say between $30 and $35 a head for a student to go through the program is not a bad estimate. It depends on, your venues and who's given in-kind donations and things like that. New Hampshire National Guard, Army National Guard came through huge this year for us, but that's something they planned from last year. They wanted to pick up, our printing expenses and things like that, and they could do that. And that's a huge gift. That's a huge gift. And that's where they're at.
Takes a lot of people to make these days happen.
Well, and that's a part of what my reflection is thinking about this. Going back to the fact that I'm going to be with ABC this week, right? A part of I think what we all need to do is how do I put it? Kind of work together, cross boundaries, cross ABC, AGC, the unions. I'm actually hearing a lot of interesting stuff about collaboration beginning between ABC and unions. Didn't see that coming, but here we are, right? That's a great thing. That's
if I could say one thing about our program in New Hampshire, it is everyone who touches construction, union, non-union, public, private, schools, secondary, primary, it's all of that.
Just break down the barriers. Let's work together. We all have a common goal.
The same problem that we need to find a solution to. So
that's one of the things that I have, as a takeaway. Not necessarily anything that you explicitly said, Catherine, but clearly it is. I intuitively knew what you just said was true based on the way you were describing it.
Yeah.
It's just this is an all hands kind of operation, which is, I think, when you're not trying to, differentiate and be better than this one or better, but when we're all just saying, like, hey, everybody come in the same boat. Let's all work together.
Yeah, we have direct competitors in our GCs standing right next to, or the welders. They're all in. New Hampshire's this big. You know what I mean? And our construction industry is this big in many respects. So out of respect for each other, I'm like, hey, I had the Army there and I had the National Guard there. We didn't put them by each other, but hey, I wouldn't necessarily know the difference, but there is a difference. So you don't think in those terms. You're there for a bigger purpose than yourself, and that's and we all benefit as a result.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, good. Thank you so much for being with us, Catherine. Any last questions, Stace?
No, I think we covered everything. I can't wait to share. I can't wait to see your video that comes out so I can visualize it.
Yeah, there's a couple good ones on there right now, but yeah, our website there's a lot of content right now. We are gonna revamp it a little bit just to make it a little bit more relevant to now.
Cool.
Megan started that over a decade ago, so yeah, we've done well by it, and it's been great. So thank you guys for having
Yeah,
us
thanks
on
for being
again.
here,
Yeah,
Catherine.
thank
This was great.
you.
Really appreciate it.
We'll see you sometime soon.
Yes, absolutely.
All
Thanks.
right.
All right,
See ya.
see ya.
Stacy, thus brings an end to our most recent season.
Yep.
This has been a 12-week span where I have personally learned a lot about all things workforce development, about AI, about dynamics between engineering and architecture and contractors and all kinds of fun stuff. I thank you for putting together such an awesome slate of guests for us this season.
No problem. Thanks for being an excellent host and
Bah.
doing all the hard work that I don't want to do.
I don't know. You just like hosted that one on your own.
Well, that's only because that's my passion.
Well, okay,
You
fine.
take some tough topics that I don't even want to be a part of.
I-
I'm learning.
Right, you're just taking notes. Hey, notice I'm usually taking a lot of notes. I'm trying to learn. So I do want to take a moment and thank our sponsors for this season. And tee up a little bit for our next upcoming what to expect from here. But so I want to thank Katz Abosch. Katz Abosch is an accounting firm based here in the Maryland region. They do a fantastic job with contractors, have a contractor specific practice. And I know those folks do a great job, trustworthy group if you are a contractor looking for a quality accounting firm. Then there's Lawrence Law. I'd say the exact same thing about the Lawrence Law folks. They have a construction heavy practice, lots and lots of contractors. They know what the contracting community is dealing with and really how to help, protect and prepare contractors for all things legal. Then we've got Frisco Woodline, which is a wood supply company based in Prince George's County, servicing greater DC. Great group of people, customer service oriented, and a team of real professionals that you can really lean into as consultants for all your wood needs. And then finally, our latest sponsor, which is Sandy Spring Bank. Sandy Spring Bank. I joke with my good friend Chris Morosco at Sandy Spring. I said, I'm calling you because you really should be a sponsor. All we work with are contractors, and about 50% of our checks say Sandy Spring Bank. You guys are clearly the contractor, bank. Please don't make me bring somebody else in. And he eventually relented. We're very happy to have Sandy Spring Bank, and thank you for your partnership. So that does it for our sponsors. That does it for the season. We do have a special episode coming up on November 17th.
Yes.
Stacy, talk to the group a little bit about what that episode will be about.
So you won't be joining us, right? So we'll
Correct.
have
Matt Verderamo, my colleague, because I will be at a retreat.
Right. Season. So yeah, he'll be joining us live from Laurel, Maryland, for Apprenticeship Week at IES, Independent Electrical.
The IEC Chesapeake,
sorry.
yeah, Independent Electrical Contractors, Chesapeake region.
Yep. At their, what I have been told is a beautiful training facility. So I'm excited to check that out. And they have a whole day planned, but I think the plan is to go live around 12, and we're going to be learning more about their program, their training, and then we're going to pull some students on apprenticeships to talk about Apprenticeship Week and, what they've been learning, what they like, all that fun stuff.
It is going to be a good time, opportunity to, as always, a lot of fun to talk to the kids when you get an opportunity to do that. Talk to some of the companies that are sponsoring, and maybe even some of the politicians that are there, all in support of that apprenticeship day. So I will be sad to not be there, but I am also confident that Matt and you will eventually demonstrate that I'm not necessary on that.
No, stop.
I'm always trying to work myself out of a job.
Very much
that is a
necessary.
rule.
Oh my God, please don't leave me.
All right. Well, with that, we come back for our next full season starting in January. We'll come back the second week in January. We've got a new schedule that we'll be working on for next year that is going to include up to 36 shows, which we and our sponsors are excited about. And we will be, always open-minded to inviting people with great stories to tell about positive impact in the building industry. So please reach out to me, to Stacy, and make sure that you raise your hand if you'd like to join the morning huddle with us.
Yes.
Anything else?
That's it. Great season.
Great.
Enjoy your break, even though we're going to be working behind the scenes.
Yeah, my break. Like I will remind you again that this is not my full-time job, and that that my full-time job is not on hiatus during this time period.
I know.
But I will enjoy the extra hour or so a week to work on client stuff probably. But anyway, all right. Thank you so much. Stacy, great job. We'll see you soon.
All right. See ya.
Bye.